Have you ever looked at an optical illusion? At first, all you see is a random collection of lines and colors. And then someone says to you, no, look again, look harder. So you stare at it for a while, and suddenly you see it. A hidden image appears that you didn't see before. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's always there. Sometimes I think the Christian life is a lot like that. To someone looking in on the outside, Christianity might not make a lot of sense. It may look like just a collection of lines and colors. And we have a perfect example of that in today's gospel. Jesus says, "Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Really? How can losing be winning? How can surrender bring freedom? It doesn't make sense in human terms until we've had a personal encounter with Christ and our eyes have been opened to the truth. Then we realize that once something that seemed contradictory is actually one of the greatest mysteries of our faith. And that is, it's only through dying that we truly live. It's only by giving our lives away that we discover true and authentic joy. In human logic, we may be tempted to hold on, protect ourselves, secure our futures. But Jesus challenges us. The world says, cling to your life, but Jesus says, surrender your life to me. The world says, avoid suffering at all costs, but Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me. The world says, happiness comes from self-protection, but Jesus says, joy comes from giving your life away. And why? Why does this make sense for the Christian? It's because that is who Christ is. He is the one who did not cling to his life, but he freely gave it to each and every one of us on the cross. As I prepare to say goodbye this weekend, I've been reflecting a lot on the past 2 years. And I can tell you this honestly. The deepest joys that I've experienced in my priesthood so far have not come from moments that were easy. They've come from the moments when Christ has asked me to give my life away, to lose my life for his sake. In my first few months at the parish, I quickly saw how weak I was and how often I was still thinking about myself, my comforts, my energy, my plans. I wanted to be a good priest, but I wanted to do things on my terms, in my certain way. And those things don't always fit together, do they? But slowly, quietly, and through the guidance of Father Mark, Christ began to teach me how to give my life away. Through ordinary days, through interruptions, through people who needed more than I felt like I could give, through moments when I was tired, unsure, or stretched thin. And little by little, I started to realize something that was such an amazing surprise. The very places where I felt spent, or the very places where I felt I was unable to give anymore, were the places where I encountered Christ the deepest. They were the places where I experienced the greatest amount of joy. I was, and I still am now, very far from perfect. That hasn't changed. But what has changed is that Jesus has not stopped working. He hasn't left me where he found me. And he continues, even now, to bring joy through the simple offering of my life each day. Whether that's sitting in a hospital, walking with someone in grief, celebrating the sacraments, listening, accompanying, or just trying to love as best that I can, these were the moments that ended up meaning the most. So Jesus is right today in the gospel, and I've experienced it firsthand. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Amen.